Last week we got part way into the article, the Arvut, and there was a very, very strong desire and a very strong response, and it could be felt. This is really the core of the work. If you take everything that we have been talking about, that you've been learning about, that you have been negotiating through a path of how you have thought, understood, and felt all of the experiences that have brought you to looking into what is spirituality, what is correction. I mean, even beyond the experiences that you've had at different times in different ways, but the sort of culmination, the real focal point of all of that and of everything from your past and all of that we're doing together really comes down to the love of the friend as the self and the way in which it's possible to actually work in such a way that a person can really attain this. And what's the purpose of attaining a thing like this? Is it that we should have some kind of great insight or a great ability to see more and more of a more inclusive reality? Is that why we do it, to satisfy something in ourselves? Well, we're driven by our programming to seek the pleasure that comes from such things as enlightenment and so on. But really, what we're learning now in this article in the Arvut is how we can actually tangibly take this personal desire for pleasure, for understanding and entering spirituality, and turn it into something that brings a change on a global basis. And when I say global, I don't mean just the world. The Kabbalists don't mean just this world. But so that a person, being the one man with one heart, that is the whole of the creature, actually enters into and functions like the law that governs everything. And by doing that, not only the quality of my life, which we stop sensing just in small organs of sense, in the five senses, but in the greater one that belongs to the whole creature. That these five senses that we've gone by, and we still do go by to a greater degree than we do with any kind of spiritual inkling, that they have a spiritual counterpoint, a component, and they are those things called lights. The nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida, these are really the spiritual five senses. And we can begin to feel those things for what they actually are when we understand what the Arvut is telling us, how it is that we should be relating to each other, and how things can come into a harmonious sense, and through what we sense this. Because the lights themselves are not some kind of supernatural parallel worlds or heightened senses. They are heightened senses really apply only to this world. They're physical, but they're sensitive. But what a light is, what this spiritual sensor is, once we have this screen, this ability to act not for myself, but in order to receive, in order to fulfill the whole, the Creator, then we see that these are qualities of the ability and the desire to bestow more and more comprehensively, to connect more and more comprehensively. And as a byproduct of this connection, all of these other things come along with it. The improvement of the world as a whole, the improvement of my life in my connection to that improvement. And yet, even though we are the ones receiving this improvement or this better state, we are really the ones giving it to the degree that we come and we guarantee to the others who bond with us that that's what we're in it for. that love and that giving is really, it's a feeling attitude towards others, but in a concrete way, not just in a way that we imagine, not just I think I'm a good person and I think I mostly think about others, you know, in a good and giving way, so to speak. It becomes more and more complete, this sensation, an unquestionable sensation, one that becomes more and more like that quality of the Creator that never changes, that is always at rest. In other words, it always and only gives. And this we can reach practically, not just as some kind of a political idea, be nice to your friend, but as a profound attainment based on a real change within us that is felt and given to everything around us. And that's what this article, the Arvut, begins to show us. It also is showing us something, and in your reaction on the forum, I saw that there was both a tremendous excitement about this. So this is what it's about. Many of us can sort of sense that that's so, even though we don't have the practical experience of it yet. And of course, we're making a lot of assumptions about it. But in any case, there's a sense that, this is it. And on the other hand, it is, oh no, you mean this is it? Because it's so completely opposed to my nature. It's so unlike what I want. In other words, I hate groups. I don't want anything to do with groups. You mean I have to go and be with people I don't yet know? You know, there's something special about me. I don't think I can really achieve anything with other people. I've always been kind of a loner or a path blazer or whatever, however we think of ourselves. Yes, those two sides of the coin are precisely what this evokes, because that's the thing. Those two opposites are the means by which we actually do this in a real way. You can say against the friend. In a sense, the friend is a help against. This is how the Bible describes Chava, Eve, in terms of a mate. It's called a helpmate or a help against, because it's a process. This is for Adam. So this process that we undergo in this achieving of this Adam, this one creature, one soul with one heart, is done in a constant interaction with friends on this one issue of straight to God, Yasher Kel. And we feel this pushing against us, against our nature, in order to show us our nature. In a constant way, the light is always shining on us when we work this way with others under the influence of a natural force of the collective, which we would have whether we were in this collective or in a football team or at work or any of the other places that we go, under which we come under an influence that shapes us and that makes us have to interact with it constantly. But for what? And to what end? What direction? And what values do we submit to in that situation? Because we are always submitting to those. Now here there's a difference, because we're not simply thrown into an environment like we are at work or school or in general society. Here we choose which value is the primary value. What is the goal, and what is the greatness of the goal in a particular environment? This is a choice that we make. So we do decide what is going to influence us. But because we don't know spirituality, we're entering it based on a kind of a guarantee that we give, it has to evolve for us. It has to become revealed to us. We don't know what it is because it's concealed to us. We have our imagination about it. You know, we've got our theories about it, and all of them, they don't really help us. The only thing that does help us in terms of our imagination is, what do we think of the Creator's quality of bestowal as being based on where we are? Because right now, because the attainment really is not of something outside of ourselves, but it is a goal that is actually the best part of ourselves. And it is before us constantly through this choice that we make to guarantee that everyone should find this. It remains in front of us and available to us in our relationship with our friend, because in that relationship comes the elation that this is the thing, that this is where bestowal and the Creator, that best aspect of us, can be revealed, and also that this is how the worst aspect of us comes to light in order that it can be corrected, that we can rise above it. So let's continue from where we left off with the article. Let me just see if there are any questions already. Yes. Adele from Walnut Creek, California. Is correction possible between lives while in spirit? I suppose, Adele, that you mean while we're not in a physical body? First of all, there's no gap between one life and another. It's immediate. But nothing can be done without the body, because we have to be in a position of free will. That is, we must be in concealment of spirituality in order to attain any of these qualities within us. Otherwise, we are simply receiving it. It's just the quality of the Creator acting on us. This world and the concealment and what we call the body, and which is really the will to receive for the self, it's only while we're in this condition that we can develop this soul and enter spirituality. It isn't done after life or between life at all. Only here with the specific environment that requires us to make the choice to make the connection. Joseph from Montreal. I can't kill the ego, so must I train my ego with methods of Kabbalah so that my ego can be altered to do good? That's correct. We don't kill the ego. We simply remove it from its high office. We stop identifying it as us and as the sort of prime minister of all desires. And what happens to it is it becomes inverted from being used for me to being a force used for the whole. And only the method... Well, it's actually something that it's a science. It's a principle that exists in nature. We call it Kabbalah because it's been revealed. This principle in nature has been revealed through a tradition, which is a scientific tradition. So we call that fact of what a person must do with themselves and with the forces, the environment that the upper force has given us. We call that Kabbalah. And there's only one method because it's according to the laws of nature. So, yes, we must use that method made known to us by Kabbalah, which exists in nature, in order to invert the use of our egoism, not to kill it. Joseph goes on, so even if a situation is suffering to me, I must learn to realize that there is no suffering, only bestowal from the Creator. That's what becomes revealed to us. When something feels that it's suffering, it's because on that particular layer of egoism, I am different than the light. And the light wants to move a person forward in their development to become like it. If we are behind the speed at which we are being developed, we dig our heels in, then we feel a force pushing us from behind. And internally, as a kind of an internal and external pressure, because our programming wants to go in one direction, and the overall thrust of the Creator's love and development wants to take us another place, but we don't want to receive it. So we start seeing it as bad, and that's called suffering. We are unable to fulfill our desire because our desires are not aligned with what is real. And Parasala from Toronto. How can it be immediate from one life to another? It takes 9 months for a baby to be born in our world. Thanks. Well, we'll leave that to... When we get there, we'll see. The Kabbalists tell us that for a person in attainment who can see the process, Rabash said it was like changing a shirt. all of these ideas about time and space, they come from our level of concealment. They don't exist like that in spirituality. Things change when a quality changes, and that's instantaneous. So, are there any questions from Mexico? No. I mean, from Latin America? All right. So let's go back to the article, and let's continue from there, and let's make our questions pertain to the article. I'm at paragraph 23. With these words, we clearly understand what we said above about the Torah being given specifically to the Israeli nation, because it is certain and unequivocal that the purpose of creation lies on the shoulders of the whole human race, whether black, white, or yellow. So he's saying here, why? What is this thing about that the scriptures of Moses say to us about that it was given only to the Israeli nation, when clearly he's already said in the article that the whole idea of the Arvut and the Torah is not meant for Israel. It's really meant for all of humanity, and that all of humanity have an effect on it, a responsibility to it, and are connected to it in a way in which everybody, including the Israeli nation, are responsible to all. And he goes on, but because of the descent of human nature to the lowest degree, which is the self-love that rules over all of mankind, there was no way to negotiate with them to persuade them to agree to take upon themselves, even as an empty promise, the exit from the narrow world into the wide spaces of love of the fellow man, except the Israeli nation, because they were enslaved in the savage kingdom of Egypt for 400 terrible years. A reminder, Israel is a desire. It's not a genetic line. Israel is Yasher Kale, direct to God. It's a desire that is in every human heart, that is either activated or dormant, waiting for different parts of the whole system to awaken sooner or later, and it all becomes awakened. So it's simply an aspect within us. And the nations, it's called the nation of Israel and the nations of the world, right? The nations of the world means those unawakened desires within us, those desires in a single soul that are still managed by the will to receive for the self only. So it's speaking about a single person. Our sages said that as salt sweetens meat, so agony polishes man, meaning they bring the body a great purification, and in addition, the purification of their holy fathers reflected upon them, as some of the verses of the Torah testify. And we spoke about this last week, that there is, in the entire system, from the point of our incarnation, we bring along with us a bed, an essence that already that is impelled by the thought of creation, moved, pushed forward, in order to fulfill the thought of creation. And these qualities that are undergoing change, these are the things that we call our holy ancestors. So these things will be developed in us in concealment, that is, in this world and in this lifetime, and the whole plan enables us to do this in an awakened point in the heart called Israel. So those great and holy ancestors of Israel are those things in the bed that will awaken and undergo development once we awaken that part in our heart. But what does he mean by as salt sweetens meat? He's referring to the enslavement within Egypt. meaning that there has to be a recognition that there is a real need to undergo correction. Otherwise, it's not possible to give a meaningful, or even, as he said here, an empty promise. Because remember, the Arvut it's a promise. It's an agreement. Yes. It's saying, yes, I will do, and we will do, and we will hear. In other words, I cannot yet fulfill this lishma. I can't do it as a complete, pure intention for bestowal. I don't have the screen. I am not in spirituality, and yet I agree to act in such a way that all can do this. And with that basic agreement, if it's felt in a person's heart that that the goal is great enough for them to go above these things that they think should stop them and make it impossible, then that's enough. It's simply to agree. But it's not possible to do that unless a need exists in us. So he's saying the exile in Egypt was the accumulation through 400 states, complete cycles, called shanim, years. There are different kinds of cycles that we go through, and a year is a particular complete cycle. And I'm not going to go into that right now, because we'll deal with it in later articles. But the fact is that without feeling that exile or that enslavement to the Pharaoh, to that part within us that is the core of our egoism, it's impossible to even want to make this kind of a guarantee. And he says that the other nations, that is, the other desires in us, they can't act yet. They're waiting on something. They can't even make an empty promise, because they're so still seeking fulfillment in those things that they enjoy. And in the words of the 5 books of Moses, these are things like they were immersed in robbery, or they were immersed in whatever you want to call it in terms of satisfying the will to receive. So, rather than me explain it, I'll continue with Baal Salam's words. Because of these 2 forewords, they were qualified for it, which is why they are spoken of in singular form. And there Israel camped before the mountain, which our sages interpret as one man in one heart. That's because each and every person from the nation detached himself completely from self-love and wanted only to benefit his friend, as we have shown above, regarding the meaning of the mitzvah, love thy friend as thyself. It turns out that all the individuals in the nation have come together and become one man in one heart, for only then they were qualified to receive the Torah. So they encamped around the mountain. The commitment was given to, first of all, that they can see the mountain. And as we said last week, the definition of Sinai, Mount Sinai, is this mountain of hatred. This is the difference. What becomes revealed is the real height of this difference between the quality of the collective. You know, when a person looks at their own will to receive, they see it as something small, and, you know, we can overcome this. I can overcome this. It seems small. But when we realize that the correction must involve a great number of people, we can have a couple of different reactions. We can think, the mountain is huge. It's revealed to us as huge, and there's no way to overcome it. But we can also realize that in the joining together of all of these desires, each person actually is carrying one part of this load, and that it really is possible, not by my strength, but by the encircling, the encampment of this collected desire into one man with one heart, with one soul. I'm going back to some questions. Mickey from Michigan. Does working in a group, when this is against my nature, does this act then to help me be able to stay on the middle line? We don't work in 3 lines until we actually enter spirituality. But it's given to us, the Kabbalists tell us about it to basically to give us a heads up as to how we should start measuring things for ourselves. It's only in working against our nature that anything happens, that there can be any growth. Now, a person already begins working against their nature simply when you're exposed to what's in the texts. And as you talk about it, you go more into it, a person goes more into it, and as your desire grows, these things are naturally revealed to you. Not by what I say, not by the answers that you get on the forum, but by your own interaction with the light. Because your desire attracts this in the light, from the light, this light that corrects. And a person already begins undergoing something against their nature. Because you don't want to study, you don't want to come back, you don't want to deal with, oh my goodness, I have to look at my nature. This is disgusting. I used to be able to not even pay attention to this or give myself an excuse. So when a person continues working anyway, they're already working against their nature. But the kind of work against a person's nature, once a person sort of has established this in their experience and understands the necessity of ups and downs in the work, that there's no way to proceed without revealing a lack and then going above reason to proceed. When a person has this, then you want to work full time. You want to speed it up. Because we don't want to just go along according to, maybe something will happen, maybe it won't happen. We shouldn't be waiting to see how things turn out. The conscious involvement means that we say, we will hear and we will do and we will hear, meaning I work to speed up this process, to get ahead of the wave of the path of pain, to help everybody, and I'm not going to want to help anybody. But if I'm working constantly on this, then I need the group for that, because nothing else will keep my eye on the ball. Everything else in general society is made to relax me, to make me think, I'm okay, I'm good, I'm fine, I don't need to really do anything. Somebody else will solve these problems in the world. I don't have to give at this moment. I can just sort of, whatever, I'll get back to it. So the group is the thing that constantly makes this work against our nature meaningful work, not just something that you beat yourself up with, but a way of attracting an extremely powerful light because of the powerful collective force of the group, all working in the same way. Patty from Massachusetts is asking me to repeat what I said about the lights. I don't know what I said. I'm sorry. Ricardo from Philippines, is the breaking of the vessels a part of correction? Correction was not possible until the vessels were broken and there was a mixture between the two qualities of bestowal and reception. Up until that point, they were completely separated from each other. There was an absolute barrier between the light which bestows, that unbounded light, that first discernment, Bechina Aleph, in which there is the light and the vessel, total light, total reception, but completely unconscious. The creature is not truly connected. It's being completely operated by the light. Now, unless that shatters so that little sparks of the will to bestow get mixed with sparks of the will to receive, in the same way that when you have things that are so opposite, the only way you can get them together is by putting tremendous force on them in order to fuse them, like in an explosion, right? So that's basically what happened. The shattering of the vessel simply means the breaking of the screens. the way in which we receive became shattered, and now everything is completely intermixed into small enough sparks that they exist as separate desires that we think of as separate people, and each one can make just that amount of correction that they can carry their coin from the treasure and bring them all back to that place and complete that treasure. It would have been impossible for there to be any correction. There really wouldn't have been essentially a creation at all if it hadn't happened. It was done for our benefit, and it was done on purpose. Charlie from Clover, South Carolina. Am I correct that time is only an item that we are subject to in this world? Yes. We feel time as a result of the change in an inner quality. In spirituality, it's felt as a direct quality. It's either yes or no. But here, we feel that change of quality as time. Julie from Florida. This process intensifies my discomfort, brings up and makes me more aware of the place inside me that are not yet open to the light. It's only part of the process. That's called the revelation of evil. In other words, that shows us our nature. It shows us the aspect of what we are in the creation. We're the creature. We are what receives in the creation. What gives in the creation is the light. The other half of the equation is the fact that as this is revealed to us, it's revealing this other desire. I mean, the desire that you're speaking about. I feel discomfort. Why? Because it's revealing a desire, a latent desire in us to be the opposite. And unless we were in Egypt 400 years, with this intensity of exile in Egypt, enslavement, we wouldn't feel or sense anything towards the light because we wouldn't have a need to be any different than what we are. So it attracts the light. This desire to have the desire to be like the light actually attracts the light. So it's two sides of the same coin. It's not just to beat ourselves up. Jill from Tampa, was the enslavement in Egypt a period of correction? This is a very good question. It's right on the article, and it's a real question. No, it was not a period of correction. It was a period of preparation. It was the preparation of a vessel, not for the will to receive, but to feel the vessels of bestowal, that is, to want them to change. And as students, we are also not in spirituality and not, I'll put it like that. We're in a period of preparation. All of the time before crossing the barrier is a period of preparation, and there are states of double concealment, single concealment, and then we cross the barrier and there is the revelation of the Creator in which the actual corrections, the spiritual corrections take place. And then there is the revelation of the love of the Creator. And we're in that either in a state of single concealment or double concealment, and this is where we begin to work with when a person has this desire, then we begin to work in order to prepare for receiving the light, which is the crossing of the barrier. And Paolo from Atlanta. I lived under communism, and the idea of sacrifice for society sounds familiar to me. For sure, I know Kabbalah is not the same, but how is it? The difference between communism and love the friend as the self, or let's call it altruistic communism, is that in communism, the goal is only to make things work smoothly. It's to satisfy myself. It's to make sure that I have everything that I need. There is no... Nature would not allow communism to continue to exist because it is so close to the actual law of nature, but contains within it such a hard, severe deviation from the goal that it's an enormous corruption. And I mean, it became very evident as to what happened in communism. Its corrupt quality quickly revealed itself. In less than a century, it was revealed to be coercive, murderous, without a head, and so on. What was missing is just one thing, that it has to be done in order to unite humanity for the goal of reaching a bonding with the Creator. It can't be done for any personal reason. It can't be done for the will to receive. Otherwise it leads to destruction, and much more quickly than in other systems based on sodomite rule, which is what's yours is yours and what's mine is mine. You know, this is like capitalism and those kinds of things, which also don't work. Only the actual law of nature works. It's the only real economic system. It's the only real political system. All of these things that we invent are doomed to change and change and change. Except we're at the end of that whole procession of change. We have nowhere to go any longer with the will to receive. We are at a crisis point, and the only way that we can enter this globalization is through love the friend as the self. That is actually the way to live with this complete interconnection with each other without destroying each other. So it's not a matter of share the wealth in order to take care of everybody's body. Kabbalah reveals to us how nature itself works and tells us that in order to copy this and to create a way of living with others, we have to have the same intention as that law, which is to support everyone equally out of love and not because of something for me, but to function as part of a cell in the one man with one heart. Okay, some questions from our Spanish friends. Alexander from Venezuela, is ego handled by the principles we are learning? Well, yes, we're learning about nothing other than that. Not how to handle it, but how to invert it, how to use our will to receive for a very different reason. And that's the only thing that Kabbalah is about, how to correct this, how to invert it. And Pablo from Dominican Republic, how long does it take for a person studying Kabbalah to master the ego? We don't master the ego. We simply receive a second nature, and we work in that second nature. How long it takes depends on a number of things. On the quality of a person's individual work. Quality, how much a person really wants it. On the quality or force towards bestowal of the group that a person is working with. That is, how strong is the force of these ideals and principles? How do we feel it as great according to how those around us inspire us because they're focused on the goal? The quality of the group. And then finally, and of course the group includes the Rav and the books, but and finally it is that point in the development of humanity as a whole. Where are we in creation? What's the need? And what is the state in the general spiritual evolution of the creature. So in the past, it could take 20 years, or, and Bala Salam said, 3 to 5 years. But that all depends on where we are in, let's call it the spiritual history of our development. We're now at a place where everything in nature is pointing us directly towards it. So the quality of the time means that it's possible to do it very quickly if we give ourselves, if we understand what the task is, what the purpose of our life is, what forces and how to use these laws, these things that nature gives us, the group, the book, the work and dissemination, and the quality of my own work, including the quality of the group. If we maximize our connection to all of this, it can happen very quickly. It's really up to how much a person wants to, believes in their heart, I mean feels in their heart, senses in their heart, the reality and importance of this. If somebody told you there was $20 million waiting for you someplace, because we believe in money, and we have an idea of how the greatness of what that would do to our lives on the physical level, we would make every effort. We'd go by bicycle, pogo stick, hopping on one foot to go get that thing. If a person feels they have a quality like that in their own desire, then they will also do everything that it takes against their nature to go now to do it. I mean inwardly, to go inwardly now to do it, using the tools that they are being given. Ishmael from Brazil, could we say that the world, Kli, and Israel and Israel are the Messiah? Well, the Messiah, according to Bala Salam, is simply the access of this redemptive quality of nature. That is, that there is something, a basic principle in nature that is bringing everything to fulfillment. That everybody should have access to be able to feel that that's so. So the place in which this is most clearly expressed is in the wisdom of Kabbalah. So if we make this available to everybody, and they look at this and they say, you know what? Yeah, there is such a thing as this. And if we are working in the world Kli to do this for others, together, as we work to overcome, to work against our nature, and to actually bond with the Creator's quality, and if you're calling Israel, that desire, straight to God, of course, all of that together is the Messiah, because it is that pulling force itself that from above, that pulling force. and we would be one and the same with that force. So that is the Messiah. The Messiah is this quality of the involvement of all of humanity with exactly that desire of the Creator, that quality of nature, working for the benefit of the whole. An unmixed quality, but consciously. Julieta from Mexico, could you please give an example of faith above reason? Something happens to a person and they feel this is bad. And then they remember, wait a minute, I'm not just some person who doesn't know that there is a system that is advancing me and loving me. I know that there is such a thing. So, if, as the Kabbalists tell me, every action of the Creator is only good, then even though my reason is telling me, that is, that my ego is telling me this is bad, I will use the advice of the Kabbalists, and I will say, I will proceed as though it is a good action and that it is sent to me for my development. Regardless of what my will to receive says to me, I proceed as if. And then I see what happens. Not because I can see in any way that as a result of me doing this, anything good will come of it, but simply because I have a goal and a desire to do it. And this is an experiment called not using my reason, not judging things by how they appear to my ego, but proceeding and seeing what happens. By going above reason, a person eventually, that action of going above reason attracts into us the very reason we can then begin to feel, not with our own mind, but with the mind and the intention of the Creator, that what the Creator had in mind, so to speak, in sending such a thing to us, because we see the good that it actually does us. That's the whole process. This is something that we need to hear many, many, many times, and we have to measure it against what's happening to us in order to be able to feel it. It's an experiment. A person has to do it, and they have to watch from the side what really goes on with them as they try to do it. Just me saying it to you is not enough. You have to hear it over and over again, and you have to be engaged in it. Let's go back to the article. Thus, because of the above necessity, the Torah was given specifically to the Israeli nation and only the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for it was inconceivable that any stranger could take any part in it. Because of that, the Israeli nation had been constructed as a sort of a gateway by which the sparks of refinement would shine upon the whole of the human race, kind of a gateway. And these sparks multiplied daily until they reach the desired amount, meaning until they develop and come to understand the pleasantness and tranquility that are in the core of love of a fellow man. For then they will know how to shift the balance to the right and will place themselves under its burden, and the wrong will be eradicated from the world. So you say, the Israeli nation, meaning that desire called straight to the Creator, that point in the heart, functions as a gateway, an opening point, through which, that's the desire in a person, and especially in a group focused on that. That unity within a group, which becomes exactly like the desire of the Creator, is like a point. Let's say that there's a barrier between that upper light and the rest of the creature. It's as though it's a solid barrier. But what happens is that the quality of unity within the group itself begins to become like that quality of bestowal and unlike the quality of reception, and starts to become transparent. It opens. And in this transparency, meaning because it becomes like the thing that it is against, if I put something, we were doing something yesterday with a green screen here. I'll give you an example. We were filming some stuff, and there was one of the motions was we wanted to make, everybody was in like a silhouette, black, and behind there was a screen, and the screen is green. So if in the video we wanted to make something disappear and show right through as though we had an apple, and the apple would be held in front of the person, because the apple was green and the background was green, even though the figure of the person was black, it was as though you could see right through the shape of the apple to the green, as though nothing were there. Because the quality, of course we're talking about color here, the quality of the apple being green is an equivalence of form with the color behind the figure. And so the figure seems to disappear, and an opening happens within them. So this is the same that happens within the will to receive in the general body of humanity. This desire called Israel, which is the group that bonds in the Arvut, becomes just like that quality of the background quality of the stole. And it becomes transparent, and the light, it becomes like a gateway in which the light starts to enter the other desires of the body, of the will to receive. That's the function of, that's why dissemination is important in a group. That's the natural function in nature at every level of what happens with equivalence of form. What happens is it comes into balance with that field outside of it. In this case, let's say this blue field around me. If I had a blue object in front of me, it's not the same color blue, but it's more like it, more in equivalence with it, then it comes into balance with it. And that's the function of the desire called Israel. There still remains a need to complete what we've said about the reason that the Torah was not given to our fathers, because of the precept of love thy friend as thyself, which is the axis around which the mitzvot revolve. So as to clarify and interpret it cannot be observed by an individual, but only through the consent of an entire nation. And that's why it took until the exodus from Egypt to become worthy of observing it. And then they were asked, if each and every one of the nation is willing to take upon himself that mitzvah, and only once they all agreed to it, they were given the Torah. They were given the light. However, there still remains to see where we find in the Torah that they all agreed to this prior to receiving the Torah. Bear in mind that these things are obvious to every educated person in the invitation that God sent to Israel through Moses prior to the reception of the Torah. As it says, when he says educated person, he's speaking to people who, for whom this was like a cultural thing. Everybody knew every passage in the Torah, perhaps even by heart, because it was the principal book of study. Now, therefore, this is the invitation that the Creator gave to the desire called Israel. Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then you shall be my own treasure from among all the peoples. For all the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words that thou shalt speak to the children of Israel. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before them all these words which the Lord had commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord has spoken, we will do. And Moses reported the word of the people to the Lord. These words don't seem to fit with their role, because common sense tells us that if a person offers his friend to do some work, and he wants him to agree, he should give him an example of the content of the work and how much it will pay. Only then can the friend decide whether or not to take on this work. But here we find neither an example of the work nor its pay, because he says, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, and he does not interpret the voice or tell us what the covenant is about. Then he says, then you shall be my own treasure from among all peoples, for all the earth is mine. But we can't see from these words whether he commands us to work to be a remedy. Segula means a remedy in Hebrew, and it also means virtuous. Bala Salam uses both meanings freely. That's a side note. For all the peoples. Is he asking us to work for it to be a remedy for all peoples, or is this a promise for us too? Are we supposed to work for others, or are we supposed to get something from this for us too? Is there a reward? We must also understand the connection to the words, for all the earth is mine. I'm not going to read this paragraph. We'll just get lost. The next one. saying, "Hereto it is not evident from the text if this is a precept and one must delve into it, or a good promise." Is it a command or is it a promise? It's not clear from what. When we come to do this work, we're in concealment. Do we know what we're going to get out of it? What is it exactly that we're being called to do? What is the action of hearing? And what work will actually happen, and what is the result of the work? This isn't clear to us. He's simply saying that you will do everything that I will say. But you'll agree. You'll agree to do it. It won't be as it's been in the past, where I'm doing everything anyway, and you simply do it and you think it's you that's doing it. But no, you're going to be. You're saying, I want to know your acts, and I want to know you through these actions, and I will do this so that this will become revealed to me. But exactly what that is from my side, from the side of concealment in the creature, it's not clear. Okay? But he is going to explain what this is that he's saying, what he's requiring of us, and what the outcome actually is. But he goes on to show us a problem. Here too, it's not evident from the text if this is a precept and one must delve into it. Is it a promise? Now, the words "a kingdom of priests" are not repeated, and they're not explained anywhere in the scriptures. And we should mainly focus on defining the difference between a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. For by the ordinary meaning of priesthood, it is one with sanctity, and it is thus obvious that a kingdom where everyone are priests must be a holy nation. So the words holy nation seem redundant. However, by all these interpretations that we've made thus far, we learn the true meaning of these words, as they should have been in the form of a negotiation with an offer and a consent. Meaning he really does offer them by these words the whole form and content of the work in Torah and mitzvot, in other words, in corrections, and the reward that follows it. The work in Torah and mitzvot is expressed in these words, "And you shall be to me a kingdom of priests," meaning that all of you, from the youngest to the oldest, are like priests, just as they have no possessions in this corporal world, because the Lord is their possession. So will the entire nation be organized, so that the whole earth and everything in it will be devoted to the Lord. And no individual in it will work but in order to observe the commandments of God and to satisfy the needs of his fellow man, so that no person will ever need to worry about himself. That's what the Arvut is. That's what the Creator is asking us to do. In other words, that's what the force of nature, this quality of bestowal, thought of creation, is really saying to us. You don't have any possessions. You actually don't. You're not giving up any possessions. The reward comes in functioning as priest. So what does he mean by priest? In the organization, as it's described in the Torah, the priests and the Levites, they didn't own anything. Everything was brought by the nation in order to support the temple, which was the thing that was most, that quality that is most like the Creator, of just absolute pure bestowal. So that the will to receive becomes sort of, they call it sacrificed. It becomes inverted through this pure action of bestowal by priests who have no personal stake. They don't have vessels of reception. They don't function from the vessels of reception. So everything from the nation supports them like functioning in one body. And their possession is the well-being of the priests, is the well-being of the nation. Because they're only thinking, exactly as the intention of the Creator, about the good of the whole. And the desires and the needs of the nation are theirs. So this is really what nature is telling us. It's like that principle. What's yours is yours, and what's mine is yours. But in that, everything is infinitely connected and the possession of everything. Because in order to give without end, a person has to have well, think of it as a person. Think of it as a wealthy man. In order to be able to give, unbounded trillions, you have to have it. You have to possess it. So in order for there to be no limitation to this bounty, there can't be some kind of limited possession. There must be no possession, but only bounty, only wealth. And the priest owns nothing. But this is a nation of priests. What's that? It's the result of the bond that every single person guarantees is doing this action called holiness, kedusha, which is this quality of which you could call priest. There's no loss in this. There's only giving from the point of unlimited bestowal. Oops, wrong glasses. The work in Torah and mitzvot is expressed in the words, yeah, and a person will never need to worry about himself, because his function is to worry only about the spiritual attainment of the other. This way, even the mundane works, such as the harvest, sowing and such, are just as the work of the sacrifice that the priests perform in the temple. Because every work that's done by any person in the group is done with exactly the same intention as the priest. It's a nation of priests. So does it matter that a person is a farmer, or that a person sort of maybe translating something, or clicking on something, or doing something on the web, or working on a book, or making a clip or a film, or simply thinking about the friend, doing anything within the group? Does it matter what that function is? He's not wearing like some fancy hat and a breastplate and like some, priest. It's the interaction, because the interaction is the same within every single one. Questions? Parasala is saying that when I study with everybody, I feel so happy. It's not just so happy, it's so happy, because it's got two O's. And elated. Is that ego? No. It's not just ego. Working against our nature doesn't mean that we feel bad all the time. When we know, when we really have the let me put it this way. When you're studying with all the friends, right, you are receiving from everybody a great force called the greatness of the goal. This lets you, it enables us to do something that we can't do on our own, and to feel the adventure of the whole process rather than despair at the fact that, oh my goodness, this is my nature and what the heck can I do about it? You work with the force of the entire group and it lifts you. That's the light. It's the connection with the others that allows you to feel it. It's not your ego. It's actually the light. But if a person becomes addicted to that, and you keep going, I'll tune in because it makes me feel good, then there will be a shift in that intention, and then a person will no longer be able to feel it. You'll fall from that, you see. But if a person keeps taking every opportunity given to them to advance, then that's not ego, and you should rejoice. Even if something bad is happening, the fact that a person knows, or that we call bad, the fact that a person knows that that this is the process, that's nature, that's the method, that's how we go, it must be above reason, then it's an adventure. You can feel elated. Even in the worst state, a person should never leave that. And when you work in a group, people are up, some are down, some are up, some are down. It's not like when you're working alone. He says here, you can't receive the Torah alone. When alone, you're down, that's it. You're down. The whole world seems down. You're down. And you don't see anybody being up. You don't receive any inspiration, any lift. But when you work with others and you communicate with them and you see them or you work with them, it's the natural organism is up and down at the same time, and you see them and they inspire you to quickly move from that state. And you're not locked into your own small abilities. Sylvia from New York. Can an Israel soul and a soul of nations join together be the reason for a complicated relationship? You're talking about interpersonal physical relationship? No, relationship should be based on chemistry. Because if you try to base it on our assumptions about spirituality when we have no real perception of that, and also these things change very quickly in people, it's no basis for making a relationship. Chemistry, enjoying similar things, and those sorts of things make for a strong basis for people. And you see, they can change together if they have those things. But if you're doing it based on an idea of spirituality, it's not a strong basis. If you meet somebody already involved, and you're free and all that, and you want to work that way, well, that's good. That can help you. But we don't really deal with interpersonal relationships here. Is the desire within enough to connect? This is from Jasmine in Pennsylvania. Is the desire within enough to connect with the group, or must there always be interaction amongst the group members? Well, there needs to be interaction, but it depends. Not everybody needs the same thing or is undergoing the same correction or whatever. It has to go according to your need. If your desire is for more connection, you should act on it. And some people only need to work in a kind of in a virtual way and at a distance. It's according to what they need. And it varies for everybody. But the more connection that there is for a person who really has that need, the quicker they're going to advance. David from Dallas. So the essence of the group is twofold: to keep our eye on the goal and to reveal how opposite our nature is to the goal, and it's to receive an inspiration for the goal. It's threefold. To receive an inspiration and power to work towards the goal. To reveal my difference from that goal through my relationship with others. And ultimately that by this, the entire group bonds with the quality of the Creator and becomes that transparent opening in the iron wall of our will to receive that allows the unity to spread to all of humanity. It has to be all of those things. And then it will be all those things. But a person should recognize that they're working with all of that. David from Dallas. I just read you. I just like saying David from Dallas. Joseph from Montreal. Is being connected to the light means to be conscious of the Creator and the creatures? To be truly connected to the light is to have a direct sensation. Then the way that you have that is to feel within yourself the exact same feelings towards the creation and the creatures as the Creator. And to recognize that that's happening in every aspect of it, in the other as well. Deborah from L.A. If I die after I attain a degree of spirituality, will I be reborn on that level? Yes. Leslie from New Jersey. does this mean that once we have good desires, we are actually changing our ego? If a person actually has the desire to bestow, if they feel that, then the ego has already undergone a change. But we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves and think that we have this. We first have to get to a place where we even actually want to have a desire like that. We don't want it. So we need to do something that will help us formulate that real desire. I don't think it's possible, not just the Kabbalists tell us it's not really possible unless we do this in a group. We won't build up enough potential to feel that we really need to have this desire. We will always put it off, see it as something in the future that is good, and we will eventually get to it. You don't know, even when it's right in front of us, generally a person will not reach for it because they feel like, I don't know, maybe later. When you really look at giving up, that it's just a feeling, it's just an intention, but we don't give that up easily. It's the core. We're built that way. So to overcome it, it takes a very strong force, but it's only that desire to have the desire that is really what this Arvut is about. I'm willing to put myself in a situation where I will have the desire to have the desire. Okay, I give myself to this force in nature. Sure, I entertain the thought that I will actually want this. Then it can happen. Not immediately, but then it can happen. It could happen immediately for a person. If they did this with everything in them, yes. Jorge from Colombia. Am I a part of Israel if I look for spirituality and consider my others in this quest as my brothers? Yes. Wilson from El Salvador. Faith above reason means we have to break all of our mental perceptions of this world? No, it means that we have to exhaust them. Because we think that we can attain spirituality by our own strength, by what we perceive about the world in our five senses, but we can't. It doesn't mean we ignore them. We have to stand on them. In a sense, we have to use them all until we realize it is impossible to attain it that way. And we turn to that place within us in which it is possible. And that place within us is called the Creator, that higher force that works on us and in us. But it's not what we think of as ourselves. What we think of as ourselves and our reason is not our perception, well, it clothes our perception of the world. But it isn't actually us, and it isn't actually the world, and we don't really, how did you put it? Break our mental perception. No. That doesn't become broken. It just becomes eclipsed by a higher, additional sense that can really sense the light, that is the causal level of things in our life, not the outcome level. You can't really judge things by the outcome because it's too late. They already happened. You can't do anything with it except go, oh, missed that one. We have to be with the additional sense which feels the light, in which there is actually a head, a rosh, some kind of an intention. That's the place that we need to reach. It doesn't break the other things. It is the cause of those other things. Leslie from New Jersey, you say that it's possible to obtain the light and the quality of bestowal in a group. What if a person decides to study by himself? Does he have a chance to get bestowal? No, there's no chance doing that. A person has to be working towards, for the whole. For the whole. With the whole and for the whole. Because that's spirituality. That doesn't mean you have to move to some place and live in a commune with people. It means that your desire needs to be connected to the desire of a group with that goal. If a person chooses to detach from that, they're not studying anyway. You might as well go out and enjoy a movie or some other projection on a screen, because that's all that we're really doing when we study alone. We're projecting this world onto a screen. So, but it doesn't require, what you might imagine. A person can choose in what sphere of that group they want to operate in. It doesn't have to be in the core. A very small number of people need really to study Kabbalah full time and all that. Everybody, though, who wants to attract the light needs to be connected in an agreement that it's about the group, that it's about the unity. Because if it's not about the unity, it's not about spirituality. So what's the point? So speaking about unity, this coming Sunday at 7 o'clock Eastern time, that is Eastern U.S. time, or midnight, 0 hour Greenwich Mean Time, we are going to have a mini-congress. Meaning we're going to get together for an hour, and there's going to be a broadcast. And we'll connect a number of different dissemination centers. New York, this center, Toronto, St. Louis, Boston. I don't know. There'll be a few places where we'll be able to, for those of you who are coming to the Congress or who aren't and want to know what this is all about, this is a preparation. It's a preparation on several levels. One, it's a demonstration of what we do. I mean, it's slightly different than being in the Congress itself, because it's mini, it's small, but not in terms of the intention, just in terms of what you see, right? Or the number of people that you see there. But we will sing together. We will make toasts like l'chaim. We will talk about the goal and about what's involved, the greatness of the goal. We will see clips, videos that will show what happens there. There's the cultural aspect of it, the culture of Kabbalah. People will speak in order to about the goal and the inspiration, about the quality of the friends that they admire and the adhesion in the group. There may be a skit or two. We will even actually do a workshop together. Let me see what this is here. Okay. And we'll do this for an hour, connecting all over the world, and you will also be part of it. It's going to be on this channel, on the RE broadcast channel. And there's also direct links, and if you go to to kabbalahgroup.info, there's information there about it, and I think you've already received emails about it from us. And we will be able to do this workshop together. You can send your greetings, and we've asked you, and if you can do this, to prepare something 30 seconds. You got a webcam? Just turn on your webcam and just send a greeting or an inspiration, or why the connection is important to you, or just send good wishes. And we will take these clips that you send us. Please go to kabbalahgroup.info, because I don't know the address that it's supposed to be sent to. Maybe somebody can let me know. Do you guys in St. Louis know? William, do you know that? Okay, I will do that. But go to kabbalahgroup.info and check it out. And you will be part of it, and you send your greetings. We'll be constantly reading your greetings. And you'll see in this what it is that we do. You will feel the preparation, the unity, the connection, and you'll be able to sense already why this is important, what it does, what the work is of we will do and we will hear, and what it means to be a nation of priests. And the place to send your clips is study at klc.info. That's Kabbalah Learning Center, okay? Study at klc.info. Send your clips there. 30 seconds, right? Send the clip or send a link to the clip or however you want to do it. Right, and it's also on the forum. You'll find an announcement there on the forum. Now, for those of you who want to go to the Congress in St. Louis, the hotel rates change on the 31st. There are special rates. They're very, very low hotel rates. So you need to register your room now to get that rate. Even if you think you might not be able to go, you should register anyway. If you need to cancel, then cancel, you know. But taking that action alone, you'll see it will open things up for you. There's 2 minutes left. I'll go to a few questions. Mari from Toronto, is there a group in Toronto? How do I get connection with that? Finish this course first. When you complete this semester, you're welcome to come to the group in Toronto, and we'll give you that information at that point. Regina from Maryland, then why does the light project itself on a person in the spirit realm, and they are by themselves, so it seems? I don't understand the question. What do you mean by spirit realm? The reason that has nothing, when a person feels themselves as alone, you can be certain they have no connection to spirituality at all. That sensation of alone is the ego. It's the will to receive. There's nothing spiritual in that. And there is no realm of spiritual other than the quality of unconditional bestowal. You need to do these reservations now, as I was saying, because this 31st is coming up fast. How do we keep the Arvut, Nancy asks from New York? Only when we become a nation will we be able to receive the Torah. Yeah, well, we will open this up as to how we keep it. How the work of the men and the work of the women they're different, but must work together in this Arvut. I think I mentioned this before, and I want to reinforce it. Women do not need to make this bond of the love of the friend as the self. The women, as they stood at the foot of Mount Sinai, there were other desires that are their desires. That is, they have roots in spirituality, in the whole structure of this single creature, which is both male and female. And in order for the bond, the Arvut, to even come about, the women and what was called the desires called women, children, and the elderly, which is a part of that one being, need to surround that 600,000 men. There were actually 3 million there. So the greater part of the creature, the more important part of the creature, is actually the feminine part. And it surrounds the 600,000 that must reintegrate in that force of bestowal. It can't do that unless it is held within the need of the women. The women make a bond with the overall, what you call the overall masculine force within the creature itself, and enable it within that field, within its desire. It gives actually the force so that that part can correct itself. So women don't actually do the same action as the men in the Arvut. They're involved in the Arvut in a different way, in a comprehensive way, that enables that part that needs to be corrected to get into alignment so that it becomes transparent and that light flows out to the rest of the creature. We have there are women who went through this course just before this one. They've just completed a wonderful question and answer book that is the first publication that the Learning Center will have ever put out. It will be prepared. It's ready now, and it will be available at the Congress. It will also be put online in the next few days so that you can download it, and it's about women and Kabbalah. The spiritual fulfillment of women and how they work in the method of Kabbalah. So this will raise a lot of questions, but you will also understand what you need to do in the Congress, whether you're coming or whether you're not. We're very excited about this, and we hope that you'll make really the best use of it, and you'll be seeing it soon. There were wonderful questions. And it seems that we're really coming together as a group and as a family. I can feel that in the questions, and it's wonderful. I'm inspired by it. Don't forget about the mini Congress, 7 o'clock on Sunday, followed immediately by the technical lesson. And I'll see you at the mini Congress, and I'll see you again next week here. Bye-bye.